It's Monday, May 25th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. 2 people face charges after the remains of a baby are found in Halifax. New Brunswick unveils an action plan for the future of NB Power.
Following the rain, the region can expect sunny breaks and warmer temperatures Tuesday.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. 2 people have appeared in court on charges after the remains of a baby reported missing over the weekend were recovered off a roadside in Halifax. CTV's Callum Smith has the details.
It was a startling Saturday for people living at this Willett Street building in the Clayton Park area of Halifax.
Just saw them going through our garbage bins in white suits, and there's about 10 cop cars here.
Little did he know the worst was yet to come when people learned police were searching for a missing newborn baby.
I was pretty shocked. I couldn't really believe that it was something like that.
According to Halifax police, a woman who had just given birth was taken to hospital by ambulance Friday night, and that an urgent search was ongoing for the newborn. The 23-year-old mother was reported in life-threatening condition, and police reiterated that was not due to violence.
We had 4 parties in custody. During the interview process, officers learned of the second location.
The second location is here off of Prospect Road beyond the Halifax Exhibition Center. Police said the baby's remains were discovered in the woods at about 3:20 Sunday afternoon. 2 people are now charged. 23-year-old Sukhpreet Singh and his wife, 26-year-old Ramandeep Kaur, are charged with 2 counts of obstruction, concealing the body of a child, and indignity to a dead body. Police say they're relatives of the mother but didn't specify the connection. In court today, the Crown opposed their release, saying there is potential for additional, very serious charges to be laid.
It's a shocking set of events. The fact that the community would be appalled is what you would expect upon hearing allegations of this kind.
The Crown said investigators have seized 5 electronic devices, but the review is going slower because they're in a foreign language and that the woman is still in critical condition and unresponsive.
If a witness is, unresponsive and in critical condition, she can tell us nothing about how these events occurred. So it's as difficult as you can get.
That's where the medical examiner's findings will be crucial.
If the child took breaths, then it'll be what caused the child to stop taking breaths, and therefore maybe turning this into a murder investigation.
The 2 accused are due back in court on Thursday. Now, despite the awful nature of the accusations, Todd, the obstruction of justice charge carries the heftiest penalty at 10 years. That's a maximum compared to 2 years or 5 years, for example, for the indignity to human remains charge. So now we're awaiting results from the medical examiner. The Crown prosecutor saying in court he's anticipating preliminary findings will come soon. Todd.
All right, Callum Smith leading us off from the newsroom tonight. A 30-year-old Nova Scotia man has been charged with manslaughter following the death of a man who was injured during a fight last week in Upper Musquodoboit. Police say the 41-year-old victim was found in medical distress Wednesday and died in hospital. The accused in this case remains in custody. An advocate for small business and ratepayers will be created to represent their complaints and concerns with NB Power. That's just one of the moves in the government's action plan for the future of the utility arising from an independent report. We get the details now from CTV's Nick Moore.
Right now, NB Power customers who have a complaint to make can take it to the utility or departments within the provincial government. Energy Minister Renee Legacy says a new independent consumer advocate for NB Power complaints will offer a brand new avenue.
The advocate will now be able to take that information, do an independent review, and actually could have powers to have NB Power correct if there's a situation that's not appropriate.
It is one of 50 recommendations offered earlier this year from a 3-person panel who were appointed to make sweeping recommendations about how to make NB Power more efficient and make any rate increases more predictable.
There was a category that we would have outright said, no, we're not doing this. We didn't. None of the recommendations fell into that.
But the provincial government says it will take time to get to all 50 recommendations, one of which is to add more nuclear power to Point Lepreau.
Having a site that's approved for nuclear is an extremely valuable asset, and there's quite a few conversations happening right now about how we develop new nuclear in New Brunswick in partnership with our neighbouring provinces.
Premier Susan Holt says conversations on the recommendation to establish more integrated electrical infrastructure to connect the Atlantic provinces is ramping up.
We have been talking more frequently, yes, about how we can advance an environment for energy in this region that benefits all of us.
NB Power CEO Lori Clark says she supports the government's action plan and says regional cooperation will be key.
I met just recently with all the CEOs in Atlantic Canada, and our issues are very much the same. So there's a lot of opportunity with the rising cost of electricity, the rising demand for electricity.
Premier Holt says there should be an announcement on more regional cooperation with the power grid in the weeks to come. Meanwhile, legislation for a new independent consumer advocate could be tabled as early as tomorrow. Nick Moore, CTV News, Fredericton.
After 6:30, we'll have some questions for the Minister of Energy, and you can read more about the government plan at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Last week, it was the State of the City address in Halifax. Today, it was the Premier's turn to present the state of the province. And according to Team Houston, Nova Scotia can be a natural resource powerhouse and needs to be to improve its economy. Here's CTV's Jesse Thomas.
Nova Scotia is staring down a $1.2 billion deficit, and Premier Tim Houston didn't sugarcoat any of the challenges facing Nova Scotia during his State of the Province address, referencing the province's GDP per capita, which ranks near the bottom, 59th out of 60 jurisdictions across North America.
And even if you don't know exactly what GDP per capita means, you know that being next to last is not good.
But Houston insists better days are ahead, doubling down on his resource-driven economic plan built around mining and developing both on and offshore wind, while drilling for on and offshore oil and gas at the same time.
So many of the problems that we have experienced in this province are a consequence of a previous generation of politicians who pursued short-term political gain over long-term growth when they banned entire industries.
This could be a rough road for Houston, according to new numbers from Abacus data that shows many Nova Scotians are uneasy with Houston's energy push. 45% disagreed with the PC party's direction, while 30% said Houston is on the right track. Abacus data says two issues are leading to this discontent.
And that's driven by two things. It's driven by rising concern about affordability and pocketbook issues, as well as some dissatisfaction with certain elements of the provincial budget.
And when it comes to affordability, Houston argues his energy and natural resources plan is part of the financial solution.
Those are directly tied. If we can grow our revenues, then we can have more to support people through various ways.
Houston said previous politicians have been afraid to talk about mining and oil and gas, but for his government, getting resources out of the ground means jobs, revenue, and what he believes is Nova Scotia's economic future. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
The Premier's event was met by striking long-term care workers in the province who rallied outside the venue. Across the province, 3,500 union workers continue to strike, demanding better pay and working conditions. There have been no talks between CUPE union leaders and the government since negotiations broke off in early May. St. John's police chief is handing in his badge when his contract ends in July. Robert Bruce says he has worked diligently and is proud of his achievements in a force that, as he puts it, has resistance to change. Avery McRae is in our St. John's studio. Avery, the chief was rather critical.
Todd, after months of allegations against his character, leadership style, and standing within the city's police force, St. John Chief of Police Robert Bruce didn't hold back on his thoughts when announcing his retirement. Robert Bruce joined the force as chief in 2021 and said at the time he was committed to lead the organization through significant transformation. While the chief declined an interview with CTV about his decision to retire, his statement on the decision reads in part, "I have worked diligently despite considerable organizational challenges, including frequent changes within the senior command team. The absence of a deputy chief for much of this period, coupled with systematic resistances to change and a restrictive collective agreement." He says the circumstances presented unique leadership and operational demands. In recent months, the chief has been in the news regarding his character. Last September, multiple members of the force filed complaints against the chief for creating what they said was a toxic work environment. None of the allegations have been tested in court. The chief called the claims vexatious, frivolous, and not made in good faith. St. John Mayor Donna Reardon worked alongside the chief on the city's Board of Police Commissioners and says she had a positive relationship with the city's top cop.
I wasn't surprised to hear that. I guess there's been a lot of issues, but like I said, I've been a supporter of the chief's, and he's done a lot of great work in St. John, trying to modernize, the force and the service that they provide, etc. Not everyone likes change. So I get that myself, and so he's worked on that. He's done quite a bit of work on it, and so it's all good.
The chief will continue in his current role until his contract ends in July. The news means the city needs a new chief of police. Mayor Reardon says the Board of Police Commissioners will likely hire an interim chief in the short term, then cast a wide net to find who will be a good fit for the role full time. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
It's raining hard in Charlottetown, where it's 11 degrees. Mention a bit of news here before we bring in meteorologist Kalen Mitchell. Northumberland Ferries has let us know that they have canceled the 6 o'clock, which would have just happened, and the 7:30 crossings because of winds on the Northumberland Strait, which of course will come as no surprise to you.
No, so for most of the on-land areas, this weather system has produced some gusty winds, but nothing that we would consider overly strong. However, for some of the over water areas or open water areas and some coastal locations, some of the peak wind gusts have been coming up towards 60 kilometers per hour as some of that heavier rain is moving through, which we just saw falling there in the Charlottetown area. So not a big surprise that there would be some disruptions to that ferry service. There is one wind warning out for this weather system. It's for northern Inverness County and Cape Breton. There it's because of the enhancement of the southerly winds coming over the Cape Breton Highlands. And the winds there are actually going to be increasing through this evening, peaking around shortly after midnight before diminishing into the start of the day for tomorrow. We'll see that in a moment. Of course, temperatures cooler across the Maritimes because of the cloudier conditions and the wet weather moving through today. We were just talking about the winds, so here's a look at some current winds out of the south and southeast. And you can see sustained in some areas up around 20 to 40 kilometers per hour, including parts of Prince Edward Island and around central areas of Nova Scotia. And that's where sort of the band of the heavier rain is moving through right now. Both the gustier winds and that heavier rain sort of coinciding with one another. And a look at some of the wind gusts. And you can see one at Halifax International Airport getting up to 63 kilometers per hour. And similar wind gusts reported at the weather station near Lunenburg. And then Charlottetown and North Cape and Prince Edward Island, a couple gusts around 57. Here's a look at the wet weather moving through. Don't have final rainfall reports yet, though I have been getting some viewer reports, many in the range of 10 to 20 millimeters, a few a little bit above that, approaching 30, 40 millimeters in some cases. There's the wind warning out for northern Inverness County in Cape Breton. And again, those winds increasing in their strength moving through this evening up to around midnight before diminishing into the start of the day for tomorrow, which of course I will talk more about, Todd, when I'm back a little bit later on.
All right, we'll see you in a few minutes for that. Thank you. There is widespread praise for recently purchased water bombers in both New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. The planes were used to great success on wildfires in the past few days in both provinces. CTV's Derek Haggett has reaction from Albert County.
Close to 10 hectares in the hills of Albert County burned in just a few hours yesterday.
This indicates how fast that fire was going and moving.
A wildfire broke out in a deep wooded area not far from the community of Riverside, Albert. When local firefighters saw the heavy smoke, they immediately reached out to the Department of Natural Resources. Shortly afterwards, water bombers were seen in the skies.
This is what actually saved the day here, because the fire was moving very quickly and was moving towards maybe not a subdivision, but a residential area.
As of this afternoon, the province's Fire Watch dashboard indicated the Midway fire was 100% contained. People here still impressed by the quick response from the water bomber crews.
They
3 or 4, they were up here. So, within an hour, having them show up and actually start doing work was pretty impressive.
They were special. They should have a medal because they've done a wonderful job. Yeah, and it was kind of eventful watching them work on the lake.
Last week, the province displayed 4 new Fireboss aircraft it recently purchased to combat wildfires. Those same planes were dispatched to the area yesterday.
And without their help, their quick response, we wouldn't be able in the shape as we are today. But also our volunteers, which people which are just volunteering their time for the fire department. We have almost everybody on that scene very, very quickly.
The mayor of Fundy Albert was out of town today and not available for an interview. In a social media post, he said Sunday was a scary and difficult day for the community, and he thanked everyone responsible for keeping the situation from being much, much worse. Todd.
All right, Derek's in Albert County this evening. Thank you. A Fredericton widow is speaking out after her husband died of a brain tumor. He spent over 3 decades as a firefighter, and she wishes more families knew the hidden dangers. CTV's Laura Brown has the story.
Firefighting brought them together. A Miss Fredericton pageant where the city's firefighters were asked to escort the contestants.
We kind of both knew that we wanted to stick together.
Ken Jenkins had 4 loves of his life: his wife Joni, their 2 boys, and firefighting. His career spanned 30-some years. His battle with cancer, 7 months.
I did say once, the career Ken loved is going to kill him.
Ken Jenkins died at 63 from a brain tumor known as a glioblastoma. It's assumed his time as a firefighter is what caused the cancer, which is why his passing is recognized as a line-of-duty death.
It wasn't until we did a deep dive on it that we realized what the beast we were facing.
Cancer is killing our firefighters.
A firefighter for 25 years and counting, Barry Durling feels it's only a matter of time before he's diagnosed. Firefighters have a 9% higher risk of cancer than the general public and is 14% more likely of dying from it. In the last decade, 31 New Brunswick firefighters have died in the line of duty. 29 were due to cancer.
Our turnout gear is laced with forever chemicals, PFAS, and they're absorbing through our skin when we sweat and getting into our bloodstream, causing cancer.
The Fredericton Department has committed to buying its 120 members chemical-free gear by next year. But Durling feels New Brunswick needs to recognize more cancers as occupational illnesses. Right now, the province lists 10. In Nova Scotia, it's 20. Joni is hoping for that change so more families get to see their heroes live longer. She says Ken's kindness and service is now his legacy.
Right about now, I think the world needs a little more of that.
Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
A missing Canadian soldier from the First World War, last seen in 1916, has been identified as a Nova Scotian. Sergeant Norman Harold McClellan disappeared and was presumed to be killed on the first day of the Battle of Ancre Heights. That was part of the Somme offensive in France. He's believed to be the oldest of the family's 6 children born in Cape North, Cape Breton Island. For more than a century, he was buried with an unidentified headstone in a British cemetery. His family has been notified of the identification, and a rededication ceremony will be held with a new headstone installed.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
It's something virtually every motorist in Halifax has encountered: gridlock approaching the city's oldest bridge. Now the province is enlisting the help of smart technology to get the traffic moving. CTV's Emma Convey explains.
It's not busy now, but during rush hour, this intersection in Dartmouth looks a lot different. Bumper-to-bumper traffic.
It's a significant access point to HRM, and it experiences significant congestion.
Which is why 8 intersections surrounding the McDonald Bridge, from North Street at Oxford to Nantucket Avenue at Victoria Road, were selected for new signal light technology.
Instead of running on a standard timed system, the signals will be able to detect traffic in a real-time volume and adjust those lights accordingly.
Adaptive signal technology isn't new, but it is to Nova Scotia. The goal, to ease traffic.
We spend some time in Arizona where they have those kinds of lights, and it works very well.
And you're sitting and there's a load of cars behind you, then of course it would be great if it automatically sensed what the road was doing.
Experts say this technology can be used at isolated intersections, but works best at multiple intersections along the same route.
Looking at many things that other jurisdictions are doing on a technology front, and this was one we identified early that could be implemented on this corridor and see some big benefits.
The province will spend $700,000 for the equipment and installation. The city does the work.
The equipment has been ordered, and the plan is to have it installed in the kind of spring, summer. Then we'll move into a period where the system will start to collect data. And once it builds up that database, then the adaptive aspect will be switched on in the late fall.
Province wants to see this technology at other high congestion intersections. The results will determine future hotspots.
Barrington Street is one of those that we're looking at next and is a high priority on our list, probably in the range of dozens of intersections across the city.
Emma Convey, CTV News, Dartmouth.
This is the web poll tonight. We're asking, what are your thoughts on adaptive traffic lights? And your options are, they should be installed at every intersection. They should be installed at high traffic intersections. They're nice, but they don't seem necessary. We'd like your input at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Time for a break now. When we return, it looks like an unsettled week in the weather. Kaylin will have the details, but first, fear and frustration in our prisons.
I'm pretty upset knowing that officers that I represent are having to go through this on a daily basis. This is unacceptable.
Prison guards are warning about growing violence on the inside and a lack of action to end it. You'll hear from them right after this.
This is your Campfire Conditions Report, valid until 2 p.m. on May 26, brought to you by Pine Acres RV, where customers become friends. The province of New Brunswick is currently open to campfires in Category 1 burning. The province of Nova Scotia, much is restricted to the hours of 7 p.m. to 8 a.m., though in the southwest of the province, parts of the valley, parts of the South Shore, campfires in Category 1 burning permitted between 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. And for the province of Prince Edward Island, it is currently closed to domestic brush burning, but campfires are permitted. Remember to check in on municipal bylaws and restrictions as well.
In the past couple of weeks, there have been a number of violent outbreaks and lockdowns at federal prisons in the Maritimes. Now, correctional officers are warning about the number and intensity of attacks and concerns little is being done about it. Here again is CTV's Laura Brown.
It was a Sunday evening in April when 5 correctional officers were allegedly assaulted by an inmate at Spring Hill Institution in Nova Scotia. Their union rep says they're still recovering.
2 of them were stabbed. One had his ear half bitten off.
But Howe claims these incidents are not uncommon. Since January of this year, within Atlantic Canada's 5 federal prisons, 31 officers have been assaulted by inmates, according to the union. 337 weapons seized and 20 drone sightings.
Our staff are seeing more violence than we ever have before. It's escalating, and it's really time that the government, I don't think that this is a regional issue anymore. I don't think it's a local issue. I think this is a national issue.
We're asking people to work with them and to protect society, but clearly we're not protecting them.
The provincial MLA who represents the area of Spring Hill made a social media post outlining her concerns after the assault. She's received an outpouring of calls and emails to her office since, from current and former officers or family members of corrections staff sharing their experiences.
You literally have the inmates having access to better technology than the people that are put there to protect the public from from these criminals. So we need to do better.
For its part, Correctional Service Canada said in a statement it's facing many challenges. The increase in inmate population places pressure on institutions. Incarcerated individuals have increasingly complex profiles that include substance use issues and challenges related to behavior management. The federal agency points to a promise of more money outlined in the spring economic update to combat drone activity and strengthen security.
I'm pretty upset knowing that officers that I represent are having to go through this on a daily basis. This is unacceptable. They deserve much better than this.
Howe promises he's more than willing to work with Ottawa on solutions. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
Still to come in your newscast tonight, some warmer temperatures in the region tomorrow. Kaylin has the full maritime forecast right after this. Yeah, it's a soaker in Chester tonight. 11 degrees. And the rain is coming down. Kaylin Mitchell joins us. Yesterday in the United Kingdom, hottest day in 72 years. 33 degrees in London. Yeah. They were sweating it pretty hard. We don't have to worry about that anytime soon here, do we?
Not here in the Maritimes, but for some parts of the country. Let's take a look at what's going on. As we make our way throughout this week, there's going to be a plume of heat that builds up from the southern United States underneath a ridge in the jet stream that's going to make its way straight up through the prairie provinces, even knows its way into parts of the Northwest Territories. And underneath that ridge, there are expected to be some high temperatures that late this week for parts of the prairie, especially around the southeast of Alberta, southern areas of Saskatchewan, southern areas of Manitoba, that do see some high temperatures climb up towards the low to mid-30s. Some communities could approach 35 degrees, and that does mean that this part of the country may be looking at some record-setting high temperatures to close out the month of May. So that's where the ridge is, but we've all heard that saying, what goes up must come down. So where does that ridge come down? It comes down around parts of the north and central coast of BC, where temperatures through the end of this month are going to finish cooler. And then the second trough of this weather system, that's going to be out by Atlantic Canada. And look at our temperatures here to close out this week. It'll be high single digits, low teens for much of the maritime provinces, and some similar cool, even chilly conditions for parts of Newfoundland as well, especially for St. John's and the Avalon Peninsula. And the issue is with this type of weather pattern is it's forming a little bit of a block. And once these blocks get set up, they can take a while to break down. So even moving into the weekend, it is expected to remain unseasonably warm, even hot for parts of the prairies, even a few parts of the Northwestern Territories, and still cool out here in Atlantic Canada. It may take the first part of June for this entire weather pattern to moderate a little bit. Let's take a look at some current conditions across the country. So they're already starting to get into this warm up in through parts of the prairies. Right now it's 24 at Calgary, it's 28 at Regina already, and 26 at Winnipeg. Moving off towards the east, parts of southern Ontario and southern Quebec will be at their warmest through the first part of this week, kind of Tuesday and Wednesday, and then their temperatures will be seasonable through the end of the week. And here in the Maritimes, we actually have some warmer temperatures for parts of the region for tomorrow, but then that cool down begins as we basically move past Wednesday, so towards Thursday, Friday, and the upcoming weekend. St. John's right now sitting at 8 degrees. We, of course, have some rain that's making its way through. This is going to continue to clear off towards the east as we head through this evening and tonight. The rain exiting Cape Breton by around shortly after midnight. In behind it, partly cloudy conditions, fog patches for the Maritimes. That's how we'll start the day on Tuesday. Moving into Tuesday afternoon, a mix of sun and cloud. Taking a look at winds in the forecast, the system moves through. Winds become northwest. And in the forecast for tomorrow, breezy in the afternoon, lots of gusts between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. Gustier conditions around Prince Edward Island, parts of the north coast of Nova Scotia. Some of the peak gusts there getting up to around 50. Lows in the forecast for tonight around much of the region in the range of around 7 to 11 degrees. A little bit cooler at Edmundston, down to around 6, and at Sydney and Cape Breton, low temperature getting down to around 6. Highs in the forecast for tomorrow in the north of New Brunswick, mostly low 20s, so 16 to 20 degrees on the coastline. Fredericton tomorrow near 25, that's warm. 26 for St. Stephen, 23 for St. John, and then 20 degrees for Moncton in the southeast. Prince Edward Island, comparatively, going to be a little bit cooler. A lot of highs, 12 to 15 degrees, so around O'Leary could get up to around 17. Cooler for eastern areas of Nova Scotia, 9 to 12 degrees for Cape Breton. Around the high teens for the North Shore, so that's not too bad there, but low to mid-teens for coastal areas on the eastern shore. 19 degrees for Amherst, 20 for Truro, A little bit warmer for Halifax, near 22. 20 for Chester, the Annapolis Valley. High temperatures near 23 degrees, very pleasant. Also near 23 for Liverpool and Shelburne. A little bit cooler at Yarmouth, a high near 17. But in the extended outlook for the Maritimes, that's where we see temperatures really cool off, happening certainly by Thursday for New Brunswick, remaining cooler through the end of this week and into the upcoming weekend. There's also going to be some cloudy periods. There'll be a chance of some showers and even the possibility of some rain on Sunday. For Nova Scotia as well, we have warmer areas in the west on Tuesday, cooler in the east, temperatures moderating on Wednesday, and then definitely cooler through the end of this week and into the upcoming weekend. Rain possible on Sunday with a chance of showers on Monday. And for Prince Edward Island in the outlook, we have temperatures cooling off as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, accompanied by a chance of showers and certainly remaining on the cool side through the end of this week. And so far for the upcoming weekend with a chance of showers on Sunday as well as on Monday. Todd.
Kalen, all that rain on Sunday, people can stay inside and watch the IWK telethon right here.
That is a fantastic idea.
We'll talk about more in the week. Later in the week. Next, we'll speak with New Brunswick's Energy Minister about the province's plan for MB Power. Stay with us.
Okay, so we're back at it tomorrow. Virgin Radio's 5K a day. Get those keywords starting at 7 a.m. Chance to win $5,000.
And around 7:30, you could get a shot at $250 to Boutique Ernest.
As you saw earlier this afternoon, the New Brunswick government revealed its action plan regarding the report about New Brunswick Power and the future of the utility. René Lagacé is the finance minister. He's also energy minister, and we have reached him in Fredericton. Nice to see you, Minister. Thanks for your time.
Hi, Todd.
I want to read this out. This is one of the actions that your government says it will take, and it reads, quote, government will develop new long-term provincial energy policy aligned with MB Power's future needs and the province's economic growth objectives. In layman's terms, what does that mean?
Wow, start off with an easy one. Well, in layman's terms, the issue is we've got a situation right now where we've got aging assets. We have a lot of our load demand is increasing, just like everywhere else in the country, in the world, actually. And we need to align our strategy to make sure that we can answer the demands of our ratepayers in New Brunswick, but also be part of the larger national strategy that's coming out in the recent weeks in the last few months. So we just need to align with that strategy. 50
recommendations. You say you'll implement them all. You agree with all of them. One of them, you're going to create an office of a consumer advocate on behalf of small businesses and ratepayers. What might that look like?
Yes, actually quite excited about that. I'm introducing new legislation tomorrow on that. There was a gap that we identified, that there was nobody really speaking on behalf of small companies or small companies and individuals. There was an intervener that spoke largely on a policy perspective, but what we have right now is somebody that's going to have a front-facing office that people can reach out to and have a discussion with and start maybe getting some answers to some of their questions that they want from an independent source. So there'll be more details in the next few days, but I think this will relieve some of the pressure that the utilities feeling, because at one point they were being asked to question and analyze their own decisions. Sometimes you need that independent voice that you can reach out to.
Minister, how would you balance the needs of the ratepayers who can only absorb so much, already are offering a rebate of 10%, with what NB Power has on the books? They have that large multi-billion-dollar debt. Mactaquac has to be dealt with. Point LaPro, as you mentioned, the need to generate more power. How can you pay for that, yet keep rates in check?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, Todd. And I mean, that's why the three leads came very strongly saying that there was no magic bullet here. This is a complex situation. The 50 recommendations all at some point take part of that weight away. I could point to a lot of different things that help to achieve that. The first thing we want is a high performing company. We need that. But we're also set in a situation where the scale is our problem. We're a small province with very few ratepayers compared to other jurisdictions, and it costs the same to produce a kilowatt in this province as it does in any other province. So it is a challenge, but I feel that if we work on the 50 recommendations, get through all of them, that we'll have a better performing company. And part of that is also have a better performing government, because we're trying to identify the proper roles for the proper interveners. So one of the big things that came out of the leads is NB Power was asked sometimes to play a social role that belonged to government. So we need to clean that up, make sure that the right organizations try to provide the right support.
One of the things your government says it will look at is the possibility of NB Power being a public-private entity. What would that look like? And are there any examples in Canada that you can point to say, that's something that might work?
The leads came up with this. They've obviously brought up different solutions that are available elsewhere. So there's no doubt that it's out there. They've just asked us to study different models that potentially could serve that. We still want to review it, because at the end of the day, each model has advantages, and sometimes there's costs, or if we bring in some private entities, they're going to want some return. So we need to analyze, is that the best use of our assets for ratepayers and for taxpayers?
What about this idea of discussing with other maritime provinces a possibility of a joint energy operator? What would that be? Because right now, certainly we have different systems. It's Emera, the private entity that owns Nova Scotia Power, and of course you're provincially owned with NB Power. How would that jive?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big topic of discussion. It's already happening. I know the Premier mentions that it's already a topic of discussion with at the Premier's table. We know that the utilities already work very well together, very closely together. This next evolution where we're really starting to look at is the growth is going to impact all of us. We've already seen last winter, because all of our assets were working at a certain time in the winter, we were able to provide some energy to Nova Scotia and PEI to make sure that everybody's lights and everybody's heat came on. So that interdependency is still there. But the growth is really where we want to manage that. Can we take, everybody's got potentially a solution to our problems. So can we benefit from each other's assets and ability to solve the problem?
Would your government be open to a partial purchase of NB Power by, say, Emera?
The leads did not. We asked that question if they were looking at what the potential sale of NB Power could look like. At this point, they felt that there wasn't a lot of traction there, so they didn't bring it into the report that much. I mean, it would have to provide significant advantages to ratepayers and to the population in New Brunswick. But at this point, where the asset is, what the needs are, the price may just be too high for what the consultants felt was possible.
Minister, there's lots to talk about. I'm sure this is a discussion that will be ongoing. I certainly appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the Minister of Industry and Finance for the province of New Brunswick. We'll take a time out. We'll be right back. In health headlines tonight, authorities say suspected cases of Ebola in eastern Congo have now passed 900. CTV's Amanda Debison has the latest on the Monday edition of The Lifeline.
Uganda is confirming 2 more cases of Ebola. This brings the total number of cases in that country to 7. Then 2 new cases are health workers at a private facility. The epicenter of the outbreak is in neighboring Congo, where there are more than 900 suspected cases and more than 200 suspected deaths. There have now been 3 attacks in the country targeting hospitals treating Ebola patients. Yesterday, young men stormed a hospital demanding to see their family. The World Health Organization has declared the outbreak a public health emergency. Canada's top doctor says the risk of the virus affecting people in this country remains low. New research shows many people aren't staying on weight loss drugs for long. A study published in JAMA Network Open found about 3 in 4 adults who start a GLP-1 drug for weight loss are no longer taking it within a year. But switching medications was also common. About 1 in 5 people changed to a different GLP-1 during that first year, and those who switched were more likely to stick with treatment. The study authors say switching may reflect doctors adjusting treatment as newer weight loss drugs become available, or stopping due to side effects, cost, or coverage. Finally, new research suggests it's not just what humans build that changes animal behavior, it's our presence itself. That's according to a study published in the journal Science. Scientists analyzed GPS tracking data from more than 4,500 mammals and birds across the U.S., alongside anonymous cell phone location data collected during the pandemic. The study found when people stayed home during COVID lockdowns, many species changed the size of the areas they used and how they interacted with habitats. Researchers say roughly 2/3 of species studied showed measurable shifts, but responses varied widely. Wolves expanded their ranges, while many mammals and birds shrank theirs as human activity increased. Scientists say the findings could help shape more targeted conservation efforts. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
With Aaron and Peter. Hey, it's the final week for a bike a day in May.
Qualify one day, win the next. Listen for the Bike Bell tomorrow between 8 and 9.
There is no B&M Bloomberg business report tonight. We're told it will return tomorrow, but we can look at how the markets fared. The TSX finished the first day of this new trading week up 359 points to close at 34,830. Of course, the Dow was closed today for the U.S. Memorial Day. And the loonie traded up very slightly today to 72.44 cents U.S. All right. Kayla Mitchell staying inside, and why not, given what it's doing outside with tonight's wake-up.
Yeah, we got some rainy and gusty weather blowing through at the moment. The rain continued to clear tonight, but we're happy to see that rain after that dry stretch of May weather that went into and through the upcoming weekend, which is where your picture comes from. And I'll step out of the way here so we get a good look at it. This is from William Kirby, coming in from Miramichi, New Brunswick, from this past weekend. We can see those thin, high clouds there. Those are cirrus clouds, and in most cases, that was about all the cloud cover that we saw on Saturday and Sunday with that area of high pressure in place. Miramichi for tomorrow. Looks like a generally fair weather day. It'll be a mix of sun and cloud. High temperature near 21 degrees and a breezy wind out of the northwest. Here's a look at our day planner around the Maritime region, and morning conditions will be mostly a mix of sun and cloud, though with some fog patches here and there. The fog will be dissipating as we move from the morning into the afternoon. Most of the early morning temperatures will be in the range of around 7 to 11 degrees for the Maritimes, and the afternoon high temperatures in New Brunswick and western Nova Scotia, low to mid-20s. Cooler, though, for eastern areas, including Prince Edward Island and the east of Nova Scotia, where most of the high temperatures will be around the low to mid-teens. Let's find out what's ahead on Your Morning Atlantic.
Tuesday on Your Morning Atlantic, have pets, will travel. The summer vacation season is on the way, and we'll get timely advice and tips if you plan to take your furry pals with you. Start your morning with us Tuesday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Finally tonight, ladies and gentlemen, start your Gouda. It was the annual cheese rolling race in England today. It was a smoky 32 degrees as participants took to the hills of Gloucestershire, chasing a 9-pound wheel of double Gloucester cheese down the nearly 600-foot hill. 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 600-fo A German man, Tom Kopke, won the main event. It's his third win in the last 3 years. Other winners include a Florida man and an 11-year-old kid named William Anderson, who said it was a great, get the pun, day. A great day. Chasing the cheese. That'll do it for us. That's our look at the day here at home. Bruce is here at 11:30. The website has your updates. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you right back here tomorrow at 6. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.